in my head, everything that I have in there, I want to share with other people and help them grow as well. So I'm really in it to help other people push forward in their life. And I didn't want to hold this information in. I kind of felt like it was selfish in a way to keep it in my own head. And that's why I put it out onto the podcast. And having people listen to that and realizing what a difference it's making just made me feel amazing.
Welcome to the Impact Driven Entrepreneur, the podcast that helps you expand your reach and convert that reach into clients so you can lead your tribe with confidence and create change in the world while living the life you desire. And now your host, certified business coach and consultant, Mariana Ruiz.
This episode of the Impact Driven Entrepreneur is brought to you by my Become a Client Magnet Intensive. In this 90-minute intensive, you will learn how to attract ideal clients to you using your free content. So you'll learn how to actually monetize your free content, how to attract the right people and get the people to convert. In other words, to purchase from you from your free content. And I've walked hundreds of women through this process of creating your magnetic message and really starting to attract people to you through being yourself and not being pushy and not being salesy. So if that sounds like something that you want to do, go to marianacruiz.com/work with me, or just go to marianacruiz.com and click on the Work With Me page. Hi there, and welcome to the Impact Driven Entrepreneur podcast. I just finished recording with Lauren Jean, and she dropped so many amazing nuggets. You're going to learn about how to structure your offers in your business. I know that's not related to podcasting, but she shared how she structured her packages, and I gave you some awesome knowledge bombs about how to structure your VIP offers and how to actually get that high-end client. We also talked about how to get on podcast as an interviewee, as well as how to start a podcast of your own, how to launch it, and how to get people on your show. She gives you some really actionable advice, and I think you are really going to get a lot out of this episode. We start off a little bit slow, so just stick with it to get to all of the good stuff. But you will absolutely love this episode, so stick around for that. So welcome, Lauren.
Thank you, Mariana, for having me. I love having this opportunity, and your show I just love, so it's nice to be on it.
Thank you. So tell us a little bit of what you do and how you got started with this area.
Okay, that's a long story, but let's see how I can cut it down. All right, well, let's start from the beginning, and I'll kind of cliff note it for you. So my daughter goes to kindergarten, and I have a breakdown where it started. Recently divorced while that happened, so I was kind of lost in life. I didn't know what to do. I had no one there for me. I mean, intimate relationship, that was gone, and that was there for a long time. So now I'm alone for the first time, and she's in school, and I'm lost. And I'm working this job that is great and supportive, but it's just too much time. So long story short, I found IIN, Institute of Integrative Nutrition, and I went through that, and I came out still lost and confused and not really sure where I wanted to go. And I had then started a podcast in March of 2015, and that's where consistency started to come into my life, and that's also where self-development came into my life. And in a major way, not planned, which made it even better. Because as I went through this journey of talking to myself, I didn't really have a lot of guests at that point. I realized how much that this can open me up. So really, through the podcast, I used as a therapy for myself, and then realizing that I can talk to other people and learn from them, it just opened so many more opportunities, and I met so many more people, and it's just been a roller coaster since then, and an exciting one, not scary one. So I realized through this that I had been through so much, and I was sharing so much of my life with everyone out there, that it kind of pushed me forward to want to share more and more and more and dig into myself even more. And I was now at the point where I was seeking out guests that had information that I wanted to know. So it was kind of for myself, but also to share with everyone, because really in my head, everything that I have in there, I want to share with other people and help them grow as well. So I'm really in it to help other people push forward in their life. And I didn't want to hold this information in. I kind of felt like it was selfish in a way to keep it in my own head. And that's why I put it out onto the podcast. And having people listen to that and realizing what a difference it's making just made me feel amazing. And I just never stopped. And that's where the consistency kept going, because before the podcast, I had this inconsistent blog of stuff I was randomly throwing up there, and it wasn't fulfilling. So by doing this, it's really increased my confidence so much to get out there and really, if you want to call it, niche down. At that point, I still had no idea what that was until it was probably a good year into podcasting where I had someone ask me, how are you doing this? What are you doing? And it's at the moment where you stop and think, oh yeah, that's what I have. I can teach people that. And at that point, I still wasn't 100% sure, because it was out of my zone of where I was really comfortable in, but it's something that I knew so well, and I was so excited to share with people. And then they just kept asking more and more and more questions, and things started to become more clear as I really listened to people and what they wanted from me, and really honing in on their perception of me rather than me thinking what I needed to do. So it was really through podcasting where I developed my sense of self and my sense of where I wanted to head in business, because what I thought I wanted to do wasn't what I truly wanted to do. It's what I knew well, but it wasn't in my passion anymore. I wanted to help people even deeper. And that's where it became female entrepreneurs who wanted to get their voice out there. And like you said in the content challenge, I unfortunately can't remember exactly what I wrote or exactly what I said, but I think it's got along the lines of that. But yeah, through this, it's opened up so many things, and I want to get out there, and I want to do speaking now. So, and I know a lot of entrepreneurs out there, they want to get out there, they want to speak, they want to create content, they want to do all of this wonderful stuff, but it's all about the how do I do it, and how do I stay consistent with it, and how. There's so many questions that are unanswered or unclear or made really difficult. So I just want to help people simplify that and share their message and get out there and just have fun with what they're doing, because that's really still what I'm working towards. And by helping other people do that, it's pushing me forward to step out of my comfort zone even more. And like I said before we got on this call, I'm terrified at the spot I'm in my life right now, but I'm excited at the same time, and I'm kind of just letting everything run and flow as it should, and still keeping that perspective in mind, but then catching it when I start to get anxious or terrified or really whatever emotion pops into my head. So, I mean, that was a long answer, but I hope that kind of got it across.
Yes. Oh my God. There's so many bits that I want to talk about. So I think, one of the things that has really helped me is realizing that there are no coincidences, right? Like, even though it's scary, and it will be, and it always will be really scary, no matter what you're doing. If you're getting out there with your message, if you're starting a podcast, if you're, starting a brand new business, if you're leaving your 9 to 5, no matter what you're doing, it's all scary. And most likely it's because you've never had to go through it. And I also think we're not given the things we can't handle, right? Like, everything is happening for us for our highest good. And I'm not a very religious person, but I do believe that the universe is like conspiring in our favor. And I'm always just reminded of that. And that really helps me with the anxiety piece. How do you feel about that? Like, is that something that you use to calm you down, or kind of what tactics, what strategies do you use when somebody comes to you and they're like, I'm terrified of starting a podcast. Like, how do I get started, or how do I get over myself, right? Because it's so much of our ego being like, I don't know if I'm good enough, or I don't know if I can do it. Like, how do you help someone over that hump?
There are so many fears out there that people have. And really, what keeps a lot of people from doing a podcast and really anything in life is perfection, is they want it to be perfect. They want to know everything from the very beginning. And I tell people, I'm like, that's ridiculous. How on earth can you know everything and have it perfect and have it go out? And I tell them, go listen to my very first show. It sounds horrible. I didn't know anything. I was a nervous wreck. I just jumped into it. And that's something that I had to work on. And I still have to work on, but not as much anymore. I tell people, I say, you just have to do it. You have to know why you want it, first of all. Like, why do you want it? How is it going to help you? How is it going to help your business? But I tell them first, how is this going to help you personally? Because it's done so much for me. Like I said, the confidence piece, I feel like I can do anything now. And even when my fears do come into play, I kind of push them to the side because I'm not as fearful. So it's really about putting the perfection aside and stepping into simplicity, which is how I teach it. I don't want it to be an overwhelming thing. I don't want it to take over your life. I don't want it to be what you're thinking about, 24 hours a day, unless it's coming from excitement. So really to simplify it and think about why you want to do this. What is your reason? And a lot of people just want to get out there and they want to share what they have to offer, or they want to expand on their existing business, or if they just have a passion and they want to get out there and talk about it. So by just doing it is the first step, because think about it. If you say you get a new job, right? And you go into this, do you know what you're doing the very first day? Most likely not. And even if you do know the job, there are different ways that companies do it. So if you came from one job, you're doing the same thing in another job, there's still different ways to do it. So it's kind of like you can use that in your business. You know your business, you know exactly what you have to offer. But stepping into doing a podcast, it's a whole other process. It's a whole other way of thinking, and it's a whole other piece that you have to add into your business. But it doesn't have to be hard. It's just the way that you look at it. And if you think about this other piece too, is what I tell a lot of people, and I get a lot of laughs at it. People just don't care. They don't care. They just want to hear you, and they want to hear all the goodness that you have to offer. They're not picking out the ums and the ifs and, the little blips that you have. They don't care. We put too much pressure on ourselves to do everything the exact right way, when people just don't care. They want to just hear your voice, and they're excited to support you and give you everything that they have and answer your questions and just be there as a supporter. And that's really something that's so important, and what we have to go back to thinking and believing and constantly putting that thought in our head is just get out there, and you're going to grow as you develop this new show of yours or anything new. You need to just step out of that perfectionist mindset and put something out there, even if it sounds like you don't know what you're talking about. When you go back and listen to it, like I'm babbling on right now, I'm sounding like, I still have these nervous thoughts in my head as I'm talking about something that I know. So if you think about that, just get out there and start doing what you're meant to do and what you're excited to do, because what I'm talking about right now is how it sounds. I'm excited to share this stuff. Even though I might feel like I'm babbling on, I know that what I'm saying is going to make sense to someone out there who wants to do something new in their life.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. So everyone listening, Lauren helped me inside of her program to actually start this podcast. So if it wasn't for you, we would not be here today. So I want to personally thank you for that. And one of my favorite things about the way that you teach is that you really simplify things. And I am, I on this podcast, most of us are high achievers, and I'm a recovering high achiever and perfectionist. And so it's so made sense and also helped me to just relax and like not make such a big deal about the whole thing when you help me through that, right? So she was basically like, stop trying to make it complicated. How can you make this as simple as possible and as streamlined as possible? And the more I leaned into that, the less I had to have the perfect show that was like just like Pat Flynn's, because a show just like Pat Flynn that I did would never be as good as a show that I did because I'm me and I like to do things my own way. And you really helped me to create that and to feel comfortable with even something like that. Because for me, I knew that I wanted to do a podcast it was on my goal list for at least a year and a half before we talked. And it was kind of like, felt really distant, like that would be something I might do someday. Kind of thing.
And that really translates into someday, into, okay, next year, okay, next year, okay. Now it's just a thought in my head that sounds crazy and it's never going to happen. But yeah.
Yeah, and I thought it had to be a big production. And what I was so happy to learn was through you and through your course is that it doesn't have to be. And I also put my own spin on it, right? So around the time when I launched the podcast, I was pretty busy. I had taken on about 10 clients and will probably never take on that many one-on-one clients again because it was very overwhelming. And so our goal was to release the podcast within 30 days. But because I had so many clients and I was trying to batch some interviews, it ended up taking me about 60 days to launch the podcast. And I'm glad it did because it was less overwhelming and it still got out there. And then what I ended up doing is at the beginning, I was editing my own show and I found that I then could not take on more clients and it was slowing me down in my business a little bit. So I outsourced it. And I like to call that my own spin because I really enjoy outsourcing the things that are not my thing.
Yeah.
Because it just makes my life easier and it helps me to focus on the things that I really enjoy and that I'm good at. And so I, streamlined my whole content creation process. And then like shortly after that, we've had a couple clients now from the podcast, like podcast listeners who came directly from the podcast. And so that was really rewarding for me to be like, oh, and it's working. Right? And so again, like, I guess I had heard like the horror stories, right? Of like, you start a podcast and you see so many podcasts out there that are like, they have like 5 or 10 shows and then that's it. Like they cancel. And I was afraid that that was going to be me. And then that didn't happen because I made everything as simple as possible.
Exactly. Exactly. And if you can believe it, I've made the process even simpler since I was teaching it to that group. It's gotten even easier because every day I look for a new way to make it easier on people. And since starting that beta group back in the summer, I've been able to reach so many more people. And just by asking them questions, like, wow, they answer. So teaching it simple and, have your podcast as a result of that is just an amazing feeling. And that's what I really want to be able to do, is help people know that they can do this and it doesn't have to take over their life. Like, you've just sort of put it into the rest of what you're doing. And that's amazing. And to see that and to listen to your show all the time, it just gives me that warm, fuzzy feeling because I'm like, I know I really helped her and we're out there to help people. That's what, our businesses are out there to do, no matter how we're helping people. It just feels amazing. And it's the motivation to keep going and doing that, even when you're having those horrible days where your bitch brain is telling you to, that you're not good enough or you can't do this. But then you have to go back and look at what you actually accomplished and why you're doing it. And that's why I ask people, why do you want to do this? And make it simple. And honestly, when you're doing research for whatever you're putting together, if it's a course, a program, a product, or whatever, I did not go and look at other people's ideas, because then that makes me feel less, right? Because there's so many big people out there teaching podcasting, but you know what? I have not yet found a woman, and I kind of feel like that makes me stick out a little bit more in this female entrepreneur world. And I mean, it really all goes back to feelings and doing what you want to do, how you want to do it, and really not letting people tell you otherwise. Just keep going, just take that step and just do it. And I know I have to tell myself sometimes with other things in my life, just step forward and do it, because it's going to be amazing. It's going to feel amazing as long as you're putting your heart into it and you're getting help if you need, get the support, do anything that you need to do it. But if it's honestly in your heart, I always say it's in your gut, really, you're going to feel it, that it's something that you want to be doing. And I don't say should, because I don't think there's anything that you should do, but really following your heart and what you want to do, what feels good to you, and what's going to get you excited, and any other good feelings that you want to have.
I love that. And that's exactly what I mean about, like, you wouldn't have an idea unless you were meant to do it. And so many people get caught up in like, okay, well, I have this idea, but I don't know if I should or if I can or anything else. And it's like, but you're not getting the idea to like go be an astronomer. And if you were, like, then that's what you're probably meant to do. Right?
Yes.
So it's not like you're having any old idea. You are having an idea for a reason. I really don't think there's like a coincidence there. And so when you allow yourself to go into that and just like go for it, that moment, that's where you get like the whole alignment and all of that. And this topic is just so fresh in my mind right now because I'm reading Big Magic. One of my friends sent it to me and it's really good. I don't know if you've read it.
I have it. I bought it for my mother for Christmas. And she's like, what, did you buy this so that I could give it to you after? And she did. I'm like, that wasn't the idea, but maybe, sure, I'll take it.
Yeah, it's so good. And it talks just about this, right? Like that you have this idea because it's meant for you and for you to carry it out. So I also want to go back because this is a topic, and you've mentioned it, we've danced around it a couple of times, but I think it's so important, and that is listening to your audience rather than listening to everyone else, like your peers / competitors. Mm-hmm. And it's something that I think we tend not to do. Instead, we are comparing and we're like, oh my God, but my show is not as good as this, or but my idea is not as good as this, or, you know, what is so-and-so, how are they teaching it? And it's not really about any of that. Listen to your audience and you will be able to reach your goals much quicker. Would you agree with me on that?
Oh my God, yeah. Because you know what? If you're looking out and seeing what everyone else is doing, then you're probably obsessing over that and you're looking into it and you're just wasting time. Mm-hmm. Honestly, just wasting time. And I can't say that now that I have my program, I do like to listen to other podcasts about podcasting because it gives me ideas, it gives me inspiration. But in the beginning, when I was putting it together, I was not looking to see what they were doing. I don't look at their process. I like other ideas so that I can then teach people that or give them resources. But I mainly stick to my personal Facebook page and my group because those are the people that I am closest with. And those are the people who are going to give me real answers. And it's crazy enough, if you ask a question simply enough, and I say simple, like within, 5 to 6 words, or you create a poll, you're going to get an answer. And it's going to really help you think about the offers that you want to create based on what they want. So I put up a poll in the beginning of this week or last week, I can't remember. basically just asking them, what they want. And I think I put as an aspiring podcaster, and I listed a bunch of different things in that poll and I got answers. And I was like, wow, this is magic. It's coming from the people who I actually am talking to and connecting with and answering their questions. So it's not about just asking a question and taking it as it is. It's digging deeper into that once someone answers you and tagging them and getting to know them. And it's relationship building and being there visible with your audience and being in that group all the time. Like it's my second home. I'm there more than I'm on my personal Facebook page because these are the people that I really connect with on a higher level. Not to say I don't on the personal Facebook page, but the people that I want to talk to, my clan, if you want to call it, those are the people who are just hungry to start a show, and I want to feed into that and I want to help them. So asking them questions is really, really important. And, putting my ideas out there and asking them how they feel about that and how would it help them, or, what do you want to see? How do you want to be taught also is a great thing to ask. How they learn. So if you're creating anything, you want to know all of these little details because the people who are truly interested in it are going to bite. And the ones who aren't active and they see these questions and they are interested, they're also going to answer. So they'll come out of their shell. And it's amazing the conversations that can come out of this. And I just love doing it because I get to know people so much better.
Yeah, I think if I had to summarize that in one word, it would be care. Care about the people in your community, whether it's 2 people in your Facebook group or 2,000. Care about those people because those are the people that, like Lauren is saying, are your followers. They are the people that you're already impacting, and perhaps you can serve them in a way that is even more what they want, and then they'll be the ones to buy from you.
Yes. I love that. Yeah, it's a great feeling. I had another thought, but I'm being bombarded with thoughts right now.
Okay, so tell us a little bit about kind of the program you have now. Is it more like one-on-one coaching? Is it a course? And how did that evolve? Because I'm also a little bit interested in that.
Well, over the past, I would say month, no, what are we in, March already? Somewhere around March. I have recreated the program because, as you know, I was working with another podcaster and she stepped away, all good. So I created something that I was more comfortable with. And that's when I told you it became more simple. So I've come up with 4 different ways based on what people were telling me how they wanted to be served. So the first one is Passion Pod, which is the original. It's a 6-week program where it's a one-on-one and we work together. 6 weeks, we're on the phone together once a week. And what we do is we put your podcast together on the phone. So you are in the off time, you're doing your writing, you're doing your creating, you're doing your recording. But then on the phone, we're bringing that all together every single week. We're doing 1 or 2 aspects of that podcast. So at the end of the 6 weeks, you'll have your show up and ready to go. And there's even a week in there where it's just answering questions, getting on and chatting about what's going on, what do you need help with, what are you struggling, what do you need tutorials on. So throughout that 6 weeks, it's a set thing every single week. And in the meantime, I'm doing your branding for your show. So I'll be setting that part up. You don't have to worry about it. So I'm looking for your music. I'm designing your artwork. I'm designing your templates and everything. You're solely focusing on your content and your content only. So that is the first one. The second option is similar to that. It's in a group setting. And the only thing that you don't get is me personally. And you're also working on your branding by yourself. But there is the Facebook group to accompany that so that I can still answer all of your questions. And let me just add, as a one-on-one, you're also in that group. So you have, besides me, you have the group to help you along with that. So those are the first two. And then the next one, I came up and I was at work when I thought of this, and I was so excited. I can't even tell you. I think I was just like dancing around because I was like, oh my God, this is brilliance. So I came up with this thing called the VIP day, which is a very important podcaster day. That is when someone just wants to have it done. They don't want to worry about the 6 weeks. They just want it done. So what we do is we set a date 2 weeks into time, whenever you decide you want to do it, and we do your podcast in one single day. Done. Minus the recordings, because that might be something that you're going to need to work on. So 2 weeks ahead of time, I give you an entire list of things that you need so that we're ready for that day. And if you're missing one thing, then we have to reschedule. So that's why I make it very clear. 2 weeks, you have enough time to get everything that you need for your show ready. So someone decides they want to do it, we connect, we set a time, I send you the email that day on what you need to get ready for your show. So that's the very important podcaster day. And then the last one is complete podcast setup. So I do it for you without your involvement. You provide everything to me. The only thing I need is for you to be around that day so that if I have a question, I can contact you and I know that you're there. So these two last options is a 4-hour block that I'm putting your show together, or we're doing your show together. So really that's it. And by putting together all of these options, I know that someone can find something that's going to work for them, because sometimes people want to be involved with it and they want to take that time to get to that point. Sometimes they want to work with a group. Sometimes they just want to work one-on-one on the phone and get it done in a day. Other people, they're like, here, just take it and do it for me. So that was where the last one came into play. And it's really what works with your schedule, your personality, anything at all. So those are the 4 options. And I just keep coming up with ideas on how to make this easier and easier and easier. So
love that.
I'm going to keep coming up with stuff. I know I am. And I want people to have options so they don't feel like they have to do this one thing. Because I know I don't work well like that. And I wouldn't want to find something that I like and only have one way to do it.
Love that. And I think that that shows a structure of a very solid business. I will say that. So anyone listening, like if you're like, how do I create like a high-end package, right? Like how do I create something that people will pay like more money for? And how do I create something that I can do that is more expensive or, you know, a little bit more higher end? And that's, I mean, she just told you how to do that. I don't know if everyone listening knows that. So I just want to point this out. When you do it VIP style, like done for you and like in a short period of time, that is very high end and people will pay for something like that. Now, probably not everyone that comes to her is going to want that option because some people will want to be involved, just like she said. But when you have a high-end package like that, you can really bring in, you know, some decent revenue with the right people who are interested in that type of service. And so it's always good to offer stuff at different levels, just like she's saying, so that you can have a little bit for everybody in your audience, because not everybody's at the same place. And the same goes for any business, right? From a brick and mortar all the way to an online business, you want to have different packages, different programs, different setups for all of the array of people that come to you within your ideal client, of course. But there is going to be a percentage that will want more done for them.
Yeah, exactly. And let me just say this too. You can use your highest end package, the most expensive one, to then look into that and break it down into smaller pieces so that you have more to offer and you can see exactly what your audience wants. And maybe there's like 4 like me, and you can figure out how you can structure those based on the bigger package. Does that make sense?
Yep. Yeah. I hope everyone understood that. But if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to either one of us. We're always in the Entrepreneurial Moms group. And I think packaging is such an important part. And like when someone comes to you and they want to start a podcast, do they already have packages? Do they already have stuff to sell? Or sometimes they don't? Kind of like, what does that look like?
Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. I have a lot of newer people coming to me, and I actually just spoke with someone on the phone, and she had just started her podcast and she's excited about it, but she's trying to figure out what her offerings are going to be. So there's someone like that. And then there's someone like you who has an established business. So it's very different, but I'm finding like I'm getting more people kind of in the middle who are starting to grow. And now this is on their radar. This is what they want to do. But most people are in the middle, but then there's the higher ones, and then there's the lower ones, the people who are just starting out. So it's a nice mix, and I really do enjoy that. And then I also have people coming into the group who are just thinking about a podcast, and they don't even have an idea what it is, but it's this word that they hear all the time, and they want to know more about. And that's really it. They just want to know what it is and how they can get involved in it because they hear it's good for them.
Yeah. So I want to ask you about one thing because I know this was a big struggle for me. And I know that some of my listeners are probably wondering this, right? Like, how do you go about asking guests to be on your show? How do you get on shows? Like, can you talk about those two things? Because I think they're really all about the same thing, but I would love to hear your perspective on those.
Yeah, definitely. So let's go to the first one, which is how do you get people to be on your show, right? Because if you're new to podcasting, you might not even be thinking about being a guest yet. This is something that people realize that they can do, right? So really what it is it's finding people that you really connect with. Maybe finding a topic that you want to talk about, because that's what I do a lot of the times is I'll think about a topic that I want to learn about or something that's just really hitting me, or say summer's coming and you have like a fitness podcast, right? We'll use that as an example. You want to go into groups where you know these people are, and you just want to basically put out a request. Tell them that you have this show and maybe a little bit about it. I wouldn't put a link though. Definitely don't put a link right away. Just want to state that you have a podcast, what it's about, and the kind of guest that you're looking for. And I can't even tell you how many times I've done that, and I've got bombarded with so many people saying that they want to be on it that I can't even keep up. So I had to get into the routine of providing an email because the requests get lost in the feed sometimes, and I don't have the time to go and look at every single one. So you're going to have people want to be on your show simply because it's free publicity. They love to talk about themselves, and why not? So again, it's simple, right? It sounds like it might be a hard thing, like, oh my God, how do I get someone to be on my show? Well, they want to be, they just have to be asked. It's as simple as that.
I have to say, I'm just going to interrupt you here for a moment,
Yeah.
but when I started this show, I knew that the first season I was going to interview 6 and 7 figure business owners. And I knew I wanted to do that because I really wanted to focus on the high achiever, and getting that type of guest would help me with that. And also like, how the F did they do it? How did they build such a successful business with kids on the side, right?
Yes.
And so that was a really important thing for me. And when I had mentioned to you, I was like, I want to interview these really, really successful people, but I'm so terrified. I think they're all going to say no. And I think you had said something like, just write a list, email them, and find out what happens. And I literally sent out, I think it was like 15 emails, and I had 12 people in the first season. So it was something like 12. But anyways, out of all of those people that I asked, only 2 said no. 2 or 3.
Amazing,
it was like
right?
negligible. And these people, I mean, it's people like Kelly Roach, who's been on here, Snow Saxman, like they have 7-figure businesses. And it was incredible to feel like a peer with people that I really look up to. And also it really helped me to get over the fact that we're all the same. We really are all the same. And if you choose, you can have success that does not have I'm better than you glasses on. And those are the people that are going to be perfect for your show anyways. Not people who are going to come on your show and be like, I'm so much better than you, right? Like,
right. I mean, we're in this online world where everyone wants to help everyone. I
mhm,
have not really run into someone who is saying that they're better than anyone else, regardless on the amount of money that they make. They just want to help. And that's why you just
exactly.
reach out to them. And I mean, it definitely helps if you're like a follower of theirs, you really admire their stuff, because then you can sort of weave into that email, something that you liked about them, a story that they told, a blog post that they wrote, something, a podcast that they were on that you heard an episode of. It's a good idea to weave something like that in so that you can connect with them that way rather than just say, hey, I like your stuff and I want you to be on my show. Make it a little bit more personable so that they connect with you. Maybe they're a mom who has a business too, and you mention that, what you're doing and what you're out to do and the kind of people that you want to help. So you can use that as well in that email if you're trying to figure out how to connect with them better. Always think emotional. Always think, how are you in line with this person and why do you want them on your show? You don't want to just say, hey, do you want to be on my show? Give them a reason. Give them a reason, why the two of you might have something in common.
I so agree with you. And I think the two of the people that had not said yes actually wanted to know like the number of downloads that I had, and I had like not even launched yet. And I consulted with my coach about it, and we mutually decided like that was not a good fit for my show. Like, I want women who are willing to be open, honest, and treat everybody the same. And so I didn't even go there. I didn't even go into like, we've had X number of downloads and, and I've done this and I've done that and this person's been on my show. Like, I didn't even entertain any of that.
Nope.
And that felt extremely powerful. So if you are in this place where you're like, oh my God, how do I get people? Or you get something like that, just know that you can stand in your power and decide what are your values and how you want your show to go.
Yeah, exactly. It's so powerful to be able to do that. I did that with one person, and it was someone that I really admired and I liked all of their stuff. And then when I got a similar response, and I just felt like I didn't feel good about it because
Mm-hmm.
I thought this person was honestly someone who, would say, yeah, let's do it. And I got the complete opposite. And I just thanked her and I said, you know what? I changed my mind. Maybe this isn't a good fit. And she just responded back like, okay, all right, thanks for asking. And that was it. But I got a response, but it was just, we weren't on the same level of thought. And I still listen to her show.
Yeah, so now let's go on to how can you get on podcasts?
How you can get on podcasts. This is definitely something that I had a hard time with in the beginning. I definitely had a hard time. It wasn't on my radar. I was just doing my own thing. And as I got more and more into it, I discovered more people that had podcasts that I did not know about, because as new podcasters, we don't really promote our show as much as we should in the beginning because we think it's like spammy, right? So you don't see a whole lot of like links for podcasts out there. But when you're in groups and you're connecting with people and like the same people, like your group is a great example because there's so much interaction in that group. You feel more comfortable to put out your stuff. And then you realize that there's more people just like you in that group. And there's other people that have podcasts. And even if you just put out, again, a request, hey, I'm looking to speak more, get more opportunities, manifesting this and that, and whatever it might be, it's putting yourself out there. It's not really promoting, it's just putting yourself out there as an expert in a field, and you're looking for opportunities. And this is a great way to get people to respond to you. And it might be podcasting, it might be guest blogging, it might be guest expert along that same line. But then getting more and more into these types of conversations and finding podcasting groups to be in, because there are lots of them.
Mm-hmm.
In my own group, I've had people connecting and starting podcasts and getting on each other's shows because, again, we all want to support each other. We want to be there for each other, and we want to share what we have, and we want to share what our guests have to have. So simply by just putting your request out there, and I say this in groups that you are active in groups that you are asking questions and participating in the conversations, it's going to be taken a lot better than if you just go into a random group and say, hey, I'm looking to be on a podcast.
Totally. Yes. And I will say we have a collaborations thread in the Entrepreneurial Moms group every Thursday. And that's exactly what I find is like the people who are engaged in the group and say, I want to be on a podcast, you already know what they're an expert at. And so it makes it so much easier to say yes, right? To either coming on this show, going on any of the other people's show, right? But if you are not involved, it's like almost like, well, we don't know anything about you. So
yeah.
it's again goes back to the relationship building and the caring for other people in order to, get the things that you want as well, right?
Exactly. And yeah, you have to be connected. You can't just be sitting in the background. You need to get out there and show what you got. I mean, share it. But I also have two other tips on how you can get yourself out there for shows. Besides the groups, if you know a show that you want to be on and it's on your radar and you're just not sure, check out the person's website and look to see if they have like an application or an email and connect with them directly through that and share what you have to offer. Because there's a lot of shows that have something on their site that you can apply to be on their show. And I say apply in, a very loose way. Some people just want that it'll direct you right to an email, and that's fine too. So find how you can get more involved with them and learn about them rather than just sending a message on Facebook. And you can do the same thing through Facebook Messenger. You can do that too. Just, hit them up and say, hey, I see you have a show. I'm curious, what are you looking for? How can I help you? Because I know as a podcaster myself, and maybe even you, sometimes you need to find something, find a guest for a show, but you're so involved with so many other things that maybe you just don't have the time. So having people come to you can be like a relief. And I've had people do it with me, and I love that they have that ambition to do that and to actually connect with me that way. And I've actually had people send me their books. I've had people send me books through the mail so that I could read it and then interview them on it. So
that's awesome.
Don't feel like you can't reach out to them. Don't feel like you're being pushy. And it's that same feeling that we get when we feel like we're self-promoting. It's okay. We're in business. That's what we do. Mm-hmm. As long as you're not harassing the person, you're fine.
Yeah.
Get over yourself.
I will say too, like I've had people pitch to be on the show and it's like very self-serving. And I think like that's okay if you tell us, like, if you want to be on a show, say why it would benefit their audience. Because at the end of the day, remember that they are really concerned about what their audience wants. If they have gone through what we talked about in the very first part of the show, which is caring about the people in their community. And, if they have a podcast that continues to run, likely they probably care very much about their community. And so when you pitch, know who that community is and how your message can help them. I think for me, like, or when I get somebody who's like, oh, it's, I want more exposure for my business. I'm kind of like, that's awesome. But like, how are you going to help the audience, right? Like that's what we're here for.
Yeah. If that was the first thing that they said, I'd be like, I'm sorry, I don't think this is a good fit.
Exactly. And it all goes back to that same like owning your power. Like you don't have to say yes to everybody, but when you know that the podcaster's priority is going to be their audience and making them happy. So when you position yourself as somebody that can help their audience, it really helps. And I will say, like, I've had people on this podcast who are amazing, like super successful people. And I was like, okay, so, if you want to promote anything at the end, like I'll be happy to help you promote it or whatever. And you know what they said? I'm just here to provide value to your audience.
Perfect.
And I was like, you are just like amazing. Like, this is why you're here. And this is why I'm, so thrilled to interview somebody like that. Right. So at the end of the day, remember that it's all about the audience and what they're listening to.
It is. It is. And I just want to say something about that last thing that you just said is there have been so many podcasts where I really love the person that they're interviewing that I actually take that extra step to go and find them online and to see what they offer. And I feel like that is so beneficial. And it speaks so much louder than what they might have to offer on the podcast. Because if you really like someone and you really feel like this is a good person, I want to work with them, I want to see what else they have, then you're going to take that time and you're going to go find out more about them and see if it's really something that's a good fit for you.
Exactly. So when you lead with value, it automatically benefits you as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Love that.
Perfect.
Okay, so let's kind of wrap things up. How can people find out more about you? We're definitely going to link to your group. So if you can say the name of that again and where people can find you and more about you.
Yeah, you can find me first at the website, which is thelaurenjeans.com, and everything's right on there. And then the second place is if you really want to find out more about podcasting, come over to the Facebook group, which is Passion to Pod. And that's the name of the program. And those are the two places where I'm the most active. I'm other places, but just to keep it simple, just like I like it, those two are just fine.
Love that. And if you could give a brand new mom entrepreneur some tips to kind of take her business to the next level, like what would you say to them?
The one thing that has recently become clear to me and is so simple is just talk to people, ask them questions, and connect. Simple as that. Just connect with people. I've been talking to a lot more people lately and really helping them and really opening their eyes and just providing value to them just as a conversation, like what we're doing here. Simple like that.
Yep. Love that. Thank you so much for coming on, Lauren. It's been a pleasure chatting with you. And thank you, because this show would not be here without you.
Oh, it makes me feel all warm and fuzzy inside. It really does.
Thanks so much for tuning in to The Impact Driven Entrepreneur. This has been an amazing episode to walk you through the Thrive business model and how you can monetize your business in multiple ways. Of course, you want to plan that out so that it's not overwhelming. And I invite you to get the download at marianaseroyce.com/download1, and you can get the Thrive business model training that I did with my clients at the end of last year, as well as additional resources to help you actually map this out into the next few weeks for you and how that would actually look so that you're not feeling overwhelmed. In the next episode of The Impact Driven Entrepreneur, I'm going to be interviewing Stacy Gushtek, and we are going to be talking about starting where you are. No matter where you are in your business right now, you can start that next project. You can start that next phase in your business. You can start your business if you're still feeling a little bit stuck. But she talks beautifully about the power of just starting with where you are and really getting comfortable with that, because that is really the first step that will help you to get that next level of success. So be sure to hit subscribe so that you can catch the next episode wherever you're listening to this.